talked about the possibility, following the lead of some of our elders, some of the most wise people among us, to kind of coalesce around a single third party or a single independent grassroots vision. That's a possibility. But it seems like we're as divided as ever on that issue. I'm watching Cornel West and Jill Stein have some very intense exchanges, not directly, but through proxies in media. And I was a little taken aback by it. I heard Cornel's comments around Jill Stein, that he lost respect for Jill Stein. I heard him talk about the Green Party more broadly, not having a kind of sustained, committed critique of white supremacy, or at least maybe not critique, but certainly not a sufficient resistance to it as a platform and as a movement. And I heard Jill Stein seem a little bewildered by Cornel's response, and certainly not, she didn't accept that critique. And I watched her with our friend Brianna Joy Gray have these kinds of conversations. I've seen both of them have those exchanges, and they were compelling. And I'd love to see them in the same room. I'd love to bring them into the same room. But when you see that, one, how do you make sense of it? And two, does that speak to a broader problem in the left, which is y'all always have your firing squads in the circle? That's what I always hear.
It doesn't make the left look good in this moment. That's the first thing I was thinking. It was like, this is not a good look. But admittedly, to a certain extent, I've been increasingly critical of Cornel West's decision since he decided to leave the Green Party. I've not really understood the logic of his choice making, and even before that, the original signing up with the People's Party, and especially since my experience with him historically had been, his struggle with supporting alternative electoral processes. So so that said, whatever, me riffing off of what Dhoruba was saying, and I agree with Dhoruba on this point, that it doesn't look like it's on the horizon, that form of unity. And I'm not sure to what extent this is relevant here. So this is all speculation, and maybe even to some extent some confession. I think all of us need to, in these spaces, do a little bit more to check our egos. I heard as we were getting set up here, you were playing humble, and I know that's not exactly what Kendrick meant at the time, but if we were to take him literally without the whatever he was doing there, I think we do need a little bit more of that, and to say what would be best for the eventual goal of some sort of broad political victory, as opposed to these very nuanced and internecine squabbles and beefs. So I'm saying that to myself as much as anybody, that George Jackson was right, that we do need to settle all quarrels and get busy. But he said it better than that, but you get my point. But so that's I'm catching up to some of this myself, but those are some of my immediate thoughts when I saw that back and forth was happening. And honestly, that's what I felt when West made that initial break from the Greens, which brought Jill back into the race in the first place.
Should Jill Stein be running again, though? I mean, at some point, and I get that, for what I understand from her, there was some internal negotiation debates, loving challenges. Hey, you do it. Ajamu, kind of pushed her to do it according to her. And I love and respect both of them. And so for me, it's just a question of strategically, does it make sense for this person, any person, to run 4 times or however many times it's been now, to be the continued face of the party, particularly at a moment where her name in particular might signify something to on the fence voters that we don't want to signify?
Yeah, again, similar to what I was saying in the critique to those who demean those of us advocating third and alternative parties formations, is that I think the Greens have long had a problem with using the intervening years to develop their own. So my thing was, initially I thought West was sort of on the cusp when he first announced he was switching over to the Greens. That is, to be starting soon enough to get enough of a groundswell to make some noise. I think the Greens need to be thinking along those lines and cultivating the next wave of candidates, and find these, I don't want to be the cliched, early 50s guy here, but we need to be cultivating the next group of radical spokespeople, because ultimately it's not supposed to be, from my, the individual candidate. It's about the party. It's about the politics. It's about the policies that you want to enact, not necessarily who's doing it. So if I long advocated that Ralph Nader should have used his celebrity to support someone else as opposed to continuously. So the same, I feel similarly with Jill. The caveat being that she's only doing it really because Cornel West dropped out at the last minute. So, but to the point still remains, if the Green Party is doing more in the intervening years to find and develop and promote and build campaigns in long form, and ways to support those campaigns and candidates, that I think would be a better strategy. Because no, I don't think, with all due respect, I don't think Jill is the best. Well, I mean, she may be the best by default, but it is unfortunate that is still the case. So this can't
be the strategy. I mean, I agree with you. And for me, as a Green Party member for decades now, I mean, for me, it's about the local elections. It's about the intervening years. It's about having a political presence. Why? There's no reason why we couldn't have 10 Green Party mayors in this country right now, 20 Green Party mayors right now, that we shouldn't be on city councils, that we shouldn't be filling up alderman seats and mayor, governor seats and state and rep seats and all this stuff, which would then make it much easier, make us a more compelling case and make us more compelling candidates when we do run for statewide and in national elections. Otherwise, we just look like spoilers to people. We look like haters and weirdos to people if we're not actually committed to doing on the ground politics. It just looks like one stunt after another. And I don't know how else to say that and get it heard, but